Mornings with kids can feel like an absolute whirlwind of constantly falling behind, running late, and generally feeling incredibly stressed. This was how I would describe my morning routines for such a long time before I figured out a few things that, simple as they may be, add up to huge changes to making everything go smoother, even with lots of children and even with children on the spectrum with additional needs such as autism or ADHD. My name is Rhiannon Morgan. Welcome back to the podcast. Everyone calls me Rhi, hence why it's called the Real Talk with Rhi podcast. I'm so glad you're here. So yes, years ago, mornings were super stressful. I was not raised to be an organised person. I am not naturally an organised person. I found out at the age of 40 I have ADHD, which explains so much. But my mornings were the way that so many parents across the country describe their mornings: chaotic, stressful, always running late. And this was when I didn't even have so many children. I have 4 now, and even when I just had one child, I found mornings incredibly stressful. So what changed? Well, we made lots of small tweaks and changes to our routines over the years, and I'm going to share with you what works for us and why it works. Ultimately, I went looking for solutions, and every time I was pregnant with another baby, I really thought, you know what, if I don't get my act together now, I'm in trouble. And I did so much research and did so much trial and testing, so you don't have to. So mornings really set the tone for the whole day. And I personally find if you can get the morning to go better, everyone starts the day on the right foot. It's the whole getting out the right side of bed kind of thing. And it does make such a difference to every member of the family. And it's not to say the wheels won't come off later in the day, especially if you're dealing with meltdowns, children with autism, whatever. That could still happen. But starting off right is going to give you a chance at the best day possible. And really, even though we're talking about morning routines, this ultimately starts before. Unfortunately, it starts before the morning with preparation. And we talked in the last episode about evening routine. We focused mainly there on evening routine when it comes to the children and bedtimes, and we went into a lot of depth about that. So if you've not caught that episode, I highly recommend you go back and check it out, because I'm sure it'll be really, really helpful. Because ultimately, as we talked about then, if we are not getting the children to bed in a calm way where they're therefore getting enough sleep, then they're going to be cranky in the mornings, and that's just going to set the tone for being really stressful just before they even wake up. They're not going to want to be waking up because they've not had enough sleep. So go back and check that out. But what we didn't really touch on too much in that episode is the preparation that I do the night before and on the weekends for the mornings. It's my gifts to future me that I do in the evenings and that we do in the mornings. And I could talk about this for an entire episode, and perhaps let me know in the comments if you'd like me to. I will, but we're just going to touch on it briefly here about a few preparation things that we do. So the night before, we make sure that everyone has everything for the following morning, but largely we do that on the weekend. That's a weekend reset that we do to make sure the children have things that they need for the week. So uniform for the week, PE kit for the week. One of my children is currently in secondary school, so does things like cookery or food technology, I think they call it now. I don't think we're supposed to call it cookery, food technology. So there may be ingredients needed for a certain day of the week. Sometimes they've got to take in a random plastic bottle to make a rocket, all that kind of stuff. The morning on the way out the door is not the time to be organising those things or looking for those things, because that is what's really, really stressful. Ultimately, the times that I've been the most stressed in the mornings, it's when my children are like, where's my so-and-so socks I wanted to wear? Or, oh, I needed this random thing for school. So we will touch on it briefly in saying that preparation the night before and on the weekend for the week, that is the crux and the basis of making sure the morning routine goes well. But like I said, we'll talk about that in more detail in another episode, in that actual preparation stage. So we've prepared as much ahead of time as possible. Clothes, we know before the children go to bed, are ready for the next day. We do like I say, check this on the weekend, but it's a good idea to cast your eye over it the night before. And if any element of packed lunches are involved, so my children have been through phases where they've had packed lunches, but they all currently have school dinners. If they were having packed lunches during those stages, then as much as possible, they'd be prepared the night before. So anything that is dry, that doesn't need to be stored in a fridge, would be packed into the lunchbox the night before. And generally, I could make sandwiches and put those in the fridge the night before. But if necessary, it's just those last bits to do in the morning. So just making sandwiches and putting the yogurt in is, less work than doing the whole lunchbox, for example. Another thing that we do ahead of time is limit breakfast choices. So this is something that my children know to expect, that is different on the weekends compared to weekdays. So they know they've got options for weekday versus weekend breakfast. On weekdays, they have a choice of cereal. And generally, if you have children that are likely to get challenging, let's just say challenging at breakfast, you could even get them to select which cereal they're going to have the night before. You could even get them to help you put out the cereal, obviously not pour it, but put out the cereal, the bowls and everything, all of that the night before. So there is zero arguing to be done on that school morning, because ultimately school morning, and I say school morning because that's at an age where my children then had to be somewhere and we had a lot more, time constraints on us. But if you've got to get your children out to daycare, nursery, if you've got to get to work, then all of this would apply. It's any morning where you've got to be somewhere by a set time. The more of these things you can put in place, the better. So getting children to pick their breakfast the night before and then just being like, do you know what? It's already selected. We don't make changes on the morning. If you have that as a rule, then it's just another little speed bump that you're going to be avoiding. It's a crease to be ironed out. And although there may be some resistance initially with your children, in the long run, it's going to be less arguments and less melting down. Another thing we do in the morning is make our alarms our best friends. Now, I don't mean alarms in the really alarming way, as in alarms with like beep, beep, we don't mean that. I mean using alarms to notify us of the time, to notify us it's time to change on to a different portion of our morning. And I will talk you through what the portions of our morning look like in a second. But I use alarms, and this is not exclusive to mornings, but I use them heavily in the mornings just so that I don't have to clock watch. Now, this may be an ADHD thing. This might be a time blindness thing. I'm not sure we're supposed to say time blindness anymore, because I think that may be disrespectful to the blind community. But time obliviousness then is a thing, which I didn't realize till I was diagnosed, I guess, with ADHD. And ultimately for me then, if I don't have alarms going off, I'm in one of two modes. I'm totally paralyzed because I'm looking at the clock and I can't get anything done. So I'm stuck clock watching, and then not actually being productive and getting on with the things I'm supposed to do. Or I'm oblivious to the time totally, and we miss deadlines for things like having to leave the house on time. So by having alarms and knowing those alarms are going off at set times, it just allows me to just get on with the things I'm supposed to be doing. And the second bonus is it notifies the children that it's time to move on to the next portion of the morning. And it's very much like, do you know what? It's not me nagging. It's just the alarm. The alarm says it's time to do this. And by alarm, like I said, I don't actually like the alarm noises. I like to use songs that uplift everyone. So by picking people's favorite songs, a lot of the songs that go off on my alarms, if you know, I've got a whole channel which is largely, it's travel and magical adventures, but it is largely Disney trips as well as some other trips too, but we're big Disney fans in this house. So a lot of the alarm noises, I switch over to songs from Disney fireworks. So we've got things like the You Were the Magic from the fireworks when we went during the 50th anniversary, or the other one, oh my goodness, the song escapes me. What is it called? This is embarrassing. Happily Ever After. There we go. It came back to me. Or Happily Ever After from the Walt Disney World fireworks from last time we went. we really, really love these songs. And just as examples, I mean, there's a lot more different songs we use throughout the day, but those songs always put a smile on everyone's faces. Children are singing along. And if anyone's mood is starting to slip a little bit, if you pick a song that really helps to shift everyone's energy, and music's so great for that, for shifting energy, then it really just helps not just go, okay, it's time to move on, but hey, it's time to move on in kind of an upbeat, let's sing it out kind of way. We do also play certain playlists and things through the morning if I feel people's energy is slipping, kind of going a direction we don't want it to go in. And it does help to pull everyone's moods back around sometimes, but definitely utilizing the beauty of music, which is so great for shifting people's energy into a more positive space, and the alarms for notifying everyone when it's time to do the next thing. It's a winning combination. So examples for alarms. My first alarm when I actually wake up, I have on my Apple Watch. You can't see it, it's underneath my top here. I have that on my Apple Watch because personally, my morning routine, I get up before the children. Now, we're not going to go too much into my morning routine at this stage, but I like to get up before the children to do a very short workout and to just get my head around the day, planning out. And sometimes I get a fair amount of work done, especially during school holidays when I know I'm not going to have so much interrupted time later on during the day. I get quite a lot of work done in the mornings before the children get up. But I don't want to harp on about this too much because I know that early mornings are not an option for everyone. I am in a phase of life now where I am not breastfeeding all night, or nursing, I guess, if nursing a baby is how it's referred to in America for American viewers and watchers and listeners. But I'm no longer breastfeeding small babies through the night. I'm not woken up constantly every night. I mean, I have children with autism, so there are some nights where we still have disturbed sleep, but it is not like when they were newborn, which is every few hours relentlessly. You know, I'm not at that stage. My children are now not at the age where they're immediately needing attention when they wake up every single day. Obviously, if they wake up upset and they need me, then I'm here. But equally, they are getting to an age now, our youngest is 8, where they will get up and start to put some things into place themselves and start moving on with part of their morning routine themselves. They still need nurturing through some of it. But we have things like resources, things like this. Apologies, by the way, if you're listening to the audio podcast episode, because this does go out on audio as well as YouTube. But if you head over to the YouTube video, you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the school morning routine checklist. And this is something that Zara, our youngest, has been using. You can see her name's at the top here. And this is a printable. It's part of Rhi's routine resources, which you can find inside of my Organised Life Club, which has got loads and loads of different resources that you can use to help make your life easier. But also, this is available inside of my free Calm Start Guide. The Calm Start Guide is a way to help reboot your routine and really, especially focusing on the mornings, look at how you can make your life so much easier. So I will put the link down below so you can grab your own Calm Start Guide and this school morning routine checklist, which is a free printable that you can use for your kids, will be found inside of there. So head to the link down below and you can grab that. I've actually got this inside of a frame. You could put it on a clipboard, just print it out as a normal piece of paper and a pen. But I've got this inside of a frame, and she uses a whiteboard marker to tick off what she needs to do. And like I said, Zara's 8 now, and these are just the things that she needs to do in the right order. So it's simple as wake up, go to the toilet. It's amazing how many children need to be reminded to go to the toilet when they wake up. It's something they have to do every day, and yet it does not necessarily come naturally. Or is that just my kids? So toilet, and then clean teeth before they get dressed. Years ago, we did get the children to clean their teeth after breakfast. I thought that was the done thing. And then I had a chat with a dentist, and she was like, no, you need to get your children to clean their teeth first thing, as soon as they wake up, and then leave a little gap between cleaning their teeth and eating. And then that's the best way to protect their teeth. Apparently, according to that dentist that I spoke to, I mean, if you're a dentist, shout out down in the comments and let me know if that is indeed accurate information, but that's what I've been told. So that's why they go to the toilet and clean their teeth before getting dressed, okay? They do that before getting dressed because otherwise toothpaste will be on their clean clothes. Their clean uniform will have toothpaste on it. Next one, make bed. Making your bed every morning. I know this is a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's a cliche because it's true. If you can just start the day where everyone makes their beds, I'm not talking it has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be hospital corners. Just smooth over the covers. If you've got a throw pillow, plonk it back in place. And it just sets the tone for the day. And teaching your children to have this habit, instantly their room looks tidier. Just instantly. If their bed is made, their room looks tidier. And it's teaching them to have pride in their surroundings and teaching them to have these positive habits that they can take with them into adulthood. Plus, it makes your whole house look tidier, okay? Making your own bed obviously does the same. It just sets the tone for the day and makes sure that you are starting the day with a positive action, an easy positive action, and then it is easier to continue to make positive choices towards positive actions for the rest of the day too. It just sets the tone. And then we've got hair. So Zara will brush her own hair. The kids will brush their own hair. I do the girls' hair. And then they get their shoes, coat and bags ready. They do have a school bag. Like we have a school bag station by the front door, which is an absolute game changer. So nothing disappears off into the house. We just have, it's a Calyx unit, a bit like you can see behind me. That's this is a Calyx unit from IKEA. It's just like one box wide. I think it's 5 or 6 boxes high. The children have one of those boxes each to put in all of the bits they need for school. But they just grab all those and they put them out by the front door before breakfast. And that way, if anything's missing, there is a bit of time to locate whatever's missing. So we've kind of checked and double checked. We've checked the night before, have they got everything? And then they've got this kind of wiggle room, because if they are getting out their shoes, coats, bags when we're literally on the way out of the door, for example, we've got like a shoe drawer under the stairs, and on occasions someone's shoe has physically fallen down the back of the drawer and I've had to fish it out and it's a right pain in the backside. Now, if they don't get their shoes out until we're physically walking out the door, then we would be late because I'd have to fish that shoe out if it was lost. So getting those shoes and bags out before breakfast, like I said, just allows that little bit of wiggle room. We like a little bit wiggle room in the morning, and the more neurodiverse children you have, the more wiggle room I suggest you factor into your mornings. So they get their shoes, coats and bag ready. They have breakfast, which, like I said, it's a cut down choice. It's a more limited option, and my kids generally pick the same cereal each morning anyway, so it's not a big deal. But definitely if that was problematic, I would get them to select that the night before. And then there is a portion of time for tidying up. That would be, we will help to clear up after breakfast. And then there is that little bit of breathing space there where they can go and have a little bit of free time. So if the morning has gone well, just going to kind of give you our morning timings as an example. So I actually get up at 5 and then just come downstairs. I have a few bits and pieces in a little basket. I sneak down the stairs and I spend some time in the mornings getting myself ready for the day, mentally more than anything, before the children get up. And then the children's alarms go off at staggered times so that they take it in turns to go into the bathroom naturally and they're not trying to fight for the bathroom at all the same time. At the moment, our eldest is in uni, so it's the 3 little ones at home. Bella gets first, and then like 10 minutes later, Will's alarm goes off, and then just after that, Zara's alarm goes off. And then they've each had a turn in the bathroom, they get dressed. Often they get their shoes, coats and bags before breakfast and get that totally done. So that's something else ticked off their list, because they know once they've got these things, throwing a pen on the floor, once they've got these things ticked off their list, they can go and have free time, and they know that. So then we get the girls' hair done, and then there is an alarm, a song that goes off that signifies it's time to go downstairs for breakfast. Now, honestly, between you and me, don't tell the children, this alarm is set with like a 5-10 minute wiggle room really, so that if the alarm goes off and I haven't finished doing their hair, it's like, oh, we should be down for breakfast now, but it creates that urgency. It's like, right, we need to get a move on, and then we go down and have breakfast. We also have an alarm for end of breakfast. And I mean, if you leave enough wiggle room, you don't need to leave it that tight that it's like, right, everyone, cutlery down, breakfast is over now this second. But if the alarm goes off for end of breakfast, then maybe they haven't opened the yogurt they were going to eat. It's like, well, actually, you haven't even opened it. It's not going to be time for it now. then, leave it. So that end of the breakfast alarm is just another indicator to hurry along without having to clock watch and without having to nag the children. It's like, well, that's end of breakfast. It's time to clear up. Generally, the end of breakfast alarm will go off and everyone will just have finished breakfast or just about finished breakfast and will have just been at the chatting stage. It is nice we do get to sit down to have breakfast together. It's a nice opportunity to talk to the children about what they're excited for the day and talking about things like peaks and pits. We do this more at dinner really than breakfast because obviously they've just woken up for breakfast. We tend to perhaps talk about what we're excited for, or we do gratitude in the morning. Like, what are we excited for or what we're grateful for that day? And we go around the table and say that. Again, it just puts people in the right frame of mind. But peak and pit's a really nice one to ask your children as well. And that would be generally something we tend to do more at dinner because we talk about the day that's already happened. But you could do it at breakfast for the previous day if that's the time that you all get to sit together as a family. And it's just, what's your peak? What's the best thing that happened? What's the pit? The worst thing that happened? And although, you don't want to dwell too much on negativity because you want to start the day on the right foot, so to speak, it is nice to give them that opportunity to open up to you and tell you something. And it's normally something really random. Their favourite thing of the day is often something really random, or what they're grateful for, excited for is often something really random. But it's just a really nice conversation starter to have at breakfast or at dinner. So then we clear up. We all help to clear up. So it's just clearing away the breakfast things, spraying and wiping the table, and then we've just got a little vacuum cleaner to just vacuum up any crumbs and bits and pieces. And then that's the kitchen reset. And by the time we leave for the school day, the kitchen is nice and clean and tidy. Bits are put in the dishwasher. So the younger the children are, the less they actually help. But as they get older, it's good to kind of get them in the habit of doing things because it trains them to be self-sufficient when they leave to go off to university and things. And then there is that little time between end of breakfast and when the other alarm goes off for shoes and coats. It's time to put your shoes and coats on. It's time to go to school. Now, the reason I leave this wiggle room is if we've had meltdowns, if things have been lost. This is the time that is the breathing space that means that we will be able to still leave on time. And if one child is having, let's just call it an issue, it won't end up impacting the other children. Because even if a child is not having a meltdown, if they're then potentially, well, my children anyway, going to be late for school, if you think they're going to be late for school, that may start to trigger a meltdown. And that way you've got one child that's having a meltdown, another child's having a meltdown because the other child having a meltdown is potentially going to make them late for school. And it's just not a good place to be. So there is that wiggle room that I always work into that. So for us, we have it's time to go downstairs for breakfast at 7:15. The end of breakfast alarm, I think, is 7:25. And then 5 to 8, we have the shoes and coats, time to go. And that allows wiggle room at each section. So it allows that wiggle room for eating breakfast. That's more than enough time to have to eat breakfast. And then the children like to go and have a little bit of free time before we go. And if everyone, has done everything they need to do, then they have that free time and that's really nice. I can get a bit done. I can perhaps swap washing around and just get ready for the day, whatever it might be. But we have got that buffer time, and that buffer time I can highly recommend putting into your day. If you leave everything a little bit tight, the whole thing's like a house of cards, and one thing goes wrong and the whole thing falls apart. The wheels come off completely, and then everyone's rushing and panicking, and then you get to the school late, and then the children are stressed, or if you're having to drive, you can't park, or if you're walking, then they're dragging, and it's very stressful for everybody, very stressful. And allowing that wiggle room in your mornings is going to be a flipping game changer. So it's just a case of how much time will things take, and allowing a little bit more than that, and planning it out and putting those alarms in your phone. And maybe that sounds a bit extra. Maybe that's not what you need for your house. Maybe your mornings go perfectly well without all of that. But for us, that's what works. That's what works to keep everyone as calm and as happy as possible. That's what works to mean that I don't feel like I'm constantly nagging them, that we're putting everyone in the right mood, that we're leaving the house in a reasonably tidy state with beds made and a tidy kitchen, so that when I come back, so I work from home, I can actually get on with work and not have to reset the house before I can even start. Or perhaps you're coming home at the end of a busy day to a messy house, which is also really, really stressful. So these simple routines help the children, because children with autism, and I guess adults with autism too, really rely on routine to just make them feel safe. And for my children, they just they feel like they know what's going on in the world. If the routine is the same, they know what to expect. It's predictable. They like it that way. For me, it's about automation. So I have ADHD, and although people with ADHD traditionally, a lot of people will say, they just want spontaneity and they want things to be different. Ultimately, I also want things to be easy because I am, the best way to describe it in my head, my brain's just chaotic. And if we've got a routine where alarms remind me to do things, that alarm going off will be like, oh yeah, okay, that side quest I was just off on that was about to take all morning and make us late for school, the alarms pull me back on track, because ultimately, do I need routine to feel safe and stable? No. Does routine help my chaotic brain get everything done that I need to do so I don't let my children down and get them to school late and stress them out? Yes, it absolutely does. So for me, routine, the best way I can describe it is like paying a bill on direct debit rather than having to remember to do it. It just takes things off my mental load and just makes my life easier, which is ultimately what it's all about and what I need. So if you want some more help with this, inside of my Organised Life Club, I have got Rhi's routine resources. We have got a live workshop that has happened. Probably by the time you see this, that will already be there inside of the Organised Life Club, and you can watch on replay, which is the Reset Your Routine workshop. And then the workshop that we're going to be doing inside of the Organised Life Club live together the month of, let me see, where am I at? In the month of June will be the Mealtime Reset workshop, where we can look at your mealtime routine, what's working, what's not working, how you can tweak it and sleek it up to make sure that your family's mealtimes can be as stress-free as possible, because I know food and mealtimes can be a huge point of stress. And then months after that, we're going to be looking at bedtime routines and morning routines and beyond. There will be printables inside of Rhi's routine resources, which is an ever-growing printable library of resources for you to work through at your own pace or work through in the workshops together as many times as you need to, because they'll be available on replay. So all of those resources are available for you inside of the Organised Life Club. You can get started for free. Just go to mummyof4.com/join. I would love to have you in there. It's an amazing community of people all supporting each other. And there's a large proportion of families with neurodiversity, and lots of them are going through the assessment process. So it's really nice that everyone can support each other through that. You can also find my Autism Journey Journal inside of my store, or it's available that you can grab inside of the Organised Life Club during the month of May. So if you're watching during the month of May, that you can grab that during the month of May, or inside of the VIP section, then all of the previous printables are inside of there for you to grab anytime that you want. So please do check out all of that. I've also got my absolutely free printable, which is 100 Signs of Autism PDF, which if you go to mummyof4.com/108, you can grab that. That's a resource that was really what I needed when my kids were going through the autism assessment. It's totally free for you to grab and download. And it's not a medical document, but it's just a whole bunch of things that you need to start thinking about and looking out for before you speak to medical professionals, because so many of those signs and symptoms I didn't even know were things. So I didn't know to be looking out for them. And it just made me feel like a really dreadful mother, to be honest, when I was asked about things. And I hadn't been looking out for them, and I felt really put on the spot and like I didn't know what I was talking about, which was horrible. So make sure you grab that, and grab my Calm Start Guide if you want some help with your morning routines. Again, totally free, and has the kids' printables in there so that your kids can tick things off. My kids love ticking things off, and it just really helps them to get excited about having to do things so they can tick things off. And it's the case of when everything's ticked off, you can go play. That's enough of an incentive for my children. So the next episode, we are going to be talking about weekend reset and all the things that we do to prepare to have success for our morning routine. So you can click on screen if you're watching on YouTube to watch that. Head to my Organised Life Club for all the other bits and pieces we talked about. If you're watching listening on the podcast, rate, review, subscribe, do all those things. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.